So you were telling us...
And we made a terrible mistake, too, because we called out the wrong highway. We were supposed to be in Detroit, and it says, moving fast, down 95. Well...
95 was nowhere near there.
No, it's actually 75. So we had to so we changed the lyrics on the sleeve. It's saying, moving fast, doing 95. Anyway, but we didn't sing doing 95.
So the boys were very happy. They weren't in the studio when you put all the
with the sound effects and all that stuff. No, that was a moment of inspiration when maybe one of them had been there, but I think mostly the band wasn't there, and we just sort of constructed this thing, and they came in and heard it. Yeah.
Wow. This Bob Ezrin, our guest, produced the Destroyer album, Kiss album, and also, it's worth noting, you co-wrote the song Beth.
And destroyed a lot of Kiss fans because they were separate. Wasn't there a division there somehow?
Well, I don't know that I destroyed them. I may have disappointed them for a minute.
But you were right in the middle of that.
Oh, yes, I was.
Tell us about that.
Well, there was a political thing that Peter had to have a song on the record. Just every record, Peter had to have one song that he sang. So we were going through material and trying to come up with something that Peter could do amongst the songs that do you like his chair, guys? This is good.
That's a sound effect you're adding in there.
That's one of our sound effects. Yeah. Something that he could do that would suit the record. And I was just tearing my hair out because nothing was grabbing me. And then there was this song, Beth, but he had written with Stan Penridge, and it was different from this. It was more bouncy and kind of, I don't know, I can't even describe how it was. But anyway, I said, do you mind if I take it home and play with it a little bit? And they were fine. So I took it home and rewrote the lyric and the melody a little bit, slowed it down, and turned it into this kind of love ballad, and brought it back. And he loved it. The other guys were kind of unsure about it. Mm-hmm. But, I sort of said, trust me, this is really going to be great. And we're going to do it entirely differently. In fact, this whole album we were turning into an event. We had a session with a big orchestra and choir and all that stuff. You can hear it all over the record. Something that Kiss had never done before. And we even had a big press day in the studio. We called it the Kiss Grand Orchestral and Choral Recording Session, and invited the press. Kiss came in full makeup. I had all my team in tie and tails, everybody, and white gloves, and all the orchestra and the choir were wearing uniforms. The orchestra all had tuxedo T-shirts, and the choir all had dashikis on, and it was amazing. We staged it. We had props and everything in the studio. It was fantastic. Anyway, so we cut Beth, and the first single comes out, and I think the first single, I can't remember what the A-side was. It may have been Detroit Rock City. I'm not sure. But Beth was the B-side. Back in the days when you sent something to radio with 2 songs on it, Beth was the B-side. And some station in the States flipped Beth, and boom, it went right to the top of their chart. The phones were insane, and then the guys in the next county grabbed it, and the next county, and so on, and it just spread like a disease. It spread like wildfire.
I played it in Moncton, New Brunswick, and actually would send that out.
You were the guy.
Sent that out, and this goes out to Barb in Moncton.
There you go.
Beth, I hear you. You know
all
what I'm
the
saying?
girls.
There you go. All the girls.
All the girls I loved before.
Loved that song.
Yeah.
Well, they did, and I got to tell you, that was part of my plan, my mandate. When I sat the guys down and we went to do this record, I said to them, and this is the truth, so here's a little, Gene will recall this as well. We sat down and I said, you guys are like Johnny and the Wild One. You're the Wild One, which was a Marlon Brando movie where he was a motorcycle gang guy. Mm-hmm. And I said, you're dangerous and you're inappropriate and as of right now, unlovable to any female. So so it's true. Their whole audience up till that point was 15-year-old pimply boys. That was it. There were no women that liked Kiss. So I said, we got to expand that, because in the Wild One, Johnny's mean and horrible and nasty, but he's got a vulnerable side. And the girls just wanted to make him better and wanted to love him. He was dangerous, but vulnerable. So we got to have a little bit of that in this record. So that hence "Do You Love Me," which was a sort of a very direct shot at that, and Beth. So Beth comes out, it does this stuff, and the first articles in the press are like scathing, just scathing. Dave Marsh comes out, says once, I don't know if it was Dave or one of those guys, said they wanted to come and punch me in the nose on behalf of Kiss fans everywhere. And and I had just destroyed the band, and the band was going to die, and it was all my fault.
Oh, wow.
I was a murderer. And I deserved to hang. And so then I went away on vacation, and when I came back to New York, in those days you had answering services. We didn't have machines. There was little old ladies that would take your phone call. So I got back, and I called my answering service, and the little old lady says, "Where have you been?" I said, "Well, I was on vacation." She said, "You have had so many phone calls from Mr. Douglas. Mr. Jack Douglas has called you so many times. You had better call him back right away because I think it's very important." So I said, "Thank you, Mother." And I called Jack, and Jack was like, he was shaking on the other end of the phone. He said, I don't know how to tell you this, but Bill Aucoin called me. This is Kiss's manager, and they've asked me to do the next record. I said, "What?" And he said they're very disappointed in Destroyer, in the way that it came out, and they would like me to produce the next record. And he said, and listen, man, it's like Jack was like my protege. I trained Jack, right? And started him in business. I brought him Aerosmith. So he's like, if you don't want me to do it, I'm not doing it. And I said, I'll tell you what, can I swear on the air?
What word are you going to use?
It's an F word. All right, so I just said, F those guys. I said, F those mother effers. I said, F them and F them again. And I said, I'll tell you what, you want to do it, you do it. I'm out. So I walked away from that. I was very upset with them. I was really pissed off with the manager. And we didn't talk for quite a while after that. It took us a long time to come back together. And what happened with Destroyer. It was the biggest album they ever had.
Wow.
So, and Beth was a smash, and then all of a sudden it was kind of, it was our idea. It was really good, and Bob's busy, that's why we're not, it's like, so there's the Beth story.
Wow, that is exciting. That's good, fascinating stuff. We'll come back with Bob. Bob Ezrin is here. Bob Ezrin will be here for, what's the contract say? Another 10 minutes?
12 minutes.
12 minutes, my God. And we'll close off final moments with Bob and the Wall. Like it was produced.